Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Mr. Shulman, and today we are going to learn about one of the most fun, complicated, crazy things there is in the United States government, and that is congressional apportionment, redistricting, and one of my favorite words in English history, gerrymandering. And as you can see in this beautiful political cartoon here, Democrats and Republicans are both guilty of creating districts to benefit their party. And you see them painting districts in the great state of Texas. All right, so we've seen this data before. Do you remember it? Yeah, you should. Take a look here. What do you notice about congressional re-election rates? Yes, they are very, very high, especially in the House. The House tends to have over 90% incumbents winning re-election. How about this? Yeah, we just saw that in class. Take a look at Congress's most recent approval ratings. A whopping 9%. That means 91% of people disapprove of Congress. What the heck? Why the contradiction? High re-election, low approval. Guess what? It's all because of gerrymandering. And as you can see in this political cartoon here, here's to you, Jerry. We may as well celebrate my re-election now. And that's really the reason. We have this contradiction because the way the states create districts, in most states, not all states, they do it in a way that almost makes it a guarantee that an incumbent or a specific political party, usually an incumbent seat, will win re-election. And that's what we're going to focus on today. All right, so let's take a look at the basics here. We've talked about this before. In the United States, we use a single-member district in terms of our legislative branch in the House of Representatives. And what that is as you can see in this image here, this is the state of Iowa with all of their counties. And you'll notice how the different colors and the different numbers, those correspond to congressional districts, House districts. So you take a look at District 5. District 5 represents all of these counties. Get that, one person represents District 5, as well as District 2, 3, 4, and 1. And you'll notice that the districts are geographically different in size, but as we'll look at, the reason why they're geographically different in size is because population isn't necessarily the same in every county, and in order for districts to be legal, one of the qualifications is that they have to be relatively equal in population size. All right, every 10 years, the United States of America takes a census. Why? It's in the Constitution, of course. And as you know, each state's representation in the House is determined by a state's population. You don't know a state's population until you take the census. Duh. Okay, so this is a nice little timeline showing you how everything works and how it's all connected. The national government takes a census every 10 years. Why? As we said, it's in the Constitution. It counts up where people are living, how many people we have. It's very expensive, but it gives us great, great data. Second, when the national government gets this data, the national government, you notice how I emphasize national government, reapportions. All right, so here's a great vocabulary word, reapportions. What that means is they divide up how many seats each state gets in the House of Representatives. The way I think about reapportion, I look at the word portion. Portion, like a portion of pie. If you're in a big state, you're going to get a big piece of the pie. With this reapportionment data, the states, in capitals, you notice how we have the national government involved, the states involved. What does that sound like to you? Yes, yes, yes. Federalism. The states take this data and they have to create contiguous U.S. congressional districts of relatively equal population. And this process is called redistricting. Now, redistricting, no big deal. doesn't have a dirty word to it. But what happens is many states use very controversial methods to help the majority political party in their state legislature. So in Maryland, the Democrats run the show in Annapolis, and guess what? They are they are definitely guilty of using this controversial method of gerrymandering. And so this is what we're going to focus on in this video. All right, so take a look here. These are the most recent apportionment changes after the 2010 census, and you'll notice Texas, guess what? They gained 4 new House seats. But if Texas is gaining this many seats, if Florida is gaining 2 seats, if Georgia is gaining 1 seat, and all these other states are gaining seats, that means you have states losing seats. And that's because populations are changing. Check out this video. It does a terrific job explaining reapportionment better than I could do. 1 second.
The people of the United States. The mandate for the census is right here. Just a few sentences into the Constitution. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers. Apportionment. The dividing of seats in the House of Representatives among the 50 states. But how does it actually work? Since the 1940 census, Congress has used the method of equal proportions, which follows this formula.
A sub n equals P over the square root of...
Okay, don't worry about the math. Just think of the formula as an apportioning machine. First, the Constitution calls for each of the 50 states to have at least 1 seat. So, subtract 50 from the current House total of 435, and you have 385 seats left. Next, the apportionment machine ranks the states by population according to the census. Then the machine starts giving out seats. After each seat is distributed, the machine re-ranks the remaining states based on the formula until all seats are distributed. This process ensures that each congressional district from Maryland to California has roughly the same number of people. In 1790, each House member represented only about 34,000 people. In 2000, each member represented on average 647,000 people. Since the first census, the decennial count has been the basis for our representative form of government. And as our country grows, the apportionment process ensures equal representation for all, just like the Founding Fathers planned. Apportionment, another gift from our nation's founders, who transformed the census from a tool of government into a tool of empowerment for the people.
What a terrific video. All right, so like I said, I think that video does a better job explaining apportionment better than I can do. And don't worry about memorizing the whole formula or anything like that. Just know the basics. Dividing up seats to each state after the census based upon population changes. All right, now we're at redistricting. And so as we looked at in the timeline, the states are told you're going to get 8 seats or 50 seats or 20 seats. And so the states have to create their new congressional boundaries based upon this data. And as the question says, how does this illustrate the principle of federalism? You should be able to figure that out. States are redistricting. They're creating their national congressional boundaries. I think you can figure that out. Some of the main requirements that the states have to follow, we mentioned this earlier. The districts have to be relatively equal in population size. This is referred to as the principle of one person or one man per vote, as the case Baker v. Carr explained. The districts have to be contiguous, meaning they can't be split up. You can't have little islands of District 2 in the north part of the state and then District 2 in the southern part of the state. Nope, they have to be contiguous. And the third requirement, the districts are supposed to be compact, and you'll notice how I put that in quotes because as you'll see, I don't know if districts are always compact. One more video explaining redistricting. This is a great one. This is a new one I found that you might like or hate depending upon your ears. Hold on 1 second.
Representative democracy in USA. We elect legislators, that's how laws are made. 435 reps in Congress means 435 districts among us. But how do we decide who represents who? We draw lines on a map, that's what we do. District population should be roughly the same, so every vote counts in the very same way. Keep communities together so every voice is heard. Since populations move, shift, shrink, and expand, we get some data every census, then we draw them again. So politicians are accountable to every last woman and man.
Look at all this private money changing hands to change these redistricting plans. We have to wonder what special interest state legislators have in mind when they draw the lines. Come on! Hacking and cracking, kidnapping, hijacking. We decide how we divide. Reach this district, we draw the lines. If you want your party to win it all, but a whole lot of voters say no. Just redraw those lines when it's election time. They're all cracked up, I'm cracking up. When the opposition is more widespread and you don't want to lose them all, just draw the names all in one place. Yeah, back them up, just back them up. Hacking and cracking, kidnapping, hijacking. We decide how we divide. Reach this district, we draw the lines. Got to draw the line somewhere, but you can't just start it anywhere. One man, one vote, that's ridiculous. Your voice must be heard if you really want an incumbency. But the people love her way too much. Just draw her home in someone else's zone. Kidnap her house, hijack her out. And if you don't care about minorities and you don't want to vote for their vote, keep them far away and they won't have a say. Don't you reach out, just reach around.
These days, people are getting so much static from both parties, Republican and Democratic. They won't stop fighting, the people have had it, but they do agree on one thing. It's tragic, they want something, grab it, and when you catch your vote, they in the back room laughing. If you want to see bipartisan tax, just crack it, pack your head and kidnap it.
Hacking and cracking, kidnapping, hijacking. We decide how we divide. Reach this district, draw the lines.
How cool is that? Man, I mean, everything you need to know right there in that music video. So cool. Alright, so we went through all that, and as the video mentioned, those are what happens, and we get gerrymandering that tends to happen, as they mentioned in the video. Now, take a look at Maryland's districts. These are the districts made after the 2010 census, and you'll notice how they are a little bit crazy, and we'll talk about that. So here was the original gerrymander, and why do we even call it gerrymandering? Check out this video.
Most people have heard the word gerrymandering once or twice, probably during a presidential election. What exactly is gerrymandering? Essentially, it's the process of giving one political party an advantage over another political party by redrawing district lines. It's like Democrats trying to gain an advantage over Republicans, or Republicans trying to gain an advantage over Democrats. You see, each party wants to gain as many districts as possible so they can do things like control the state budget or set themselves up to win even more districts in the future. So, to understand how this process began and how it continues today, we must go back to 1812 in Massachusetts. Elbridge Gerry, the governor of Massachusetts, supported and signed a bill to allow redistricting. That is, redrawing the boundaries that separate districts. The catch? The new lines would favor Jerry's own political party, the Democratic-Republican Party, which no longer exists. You see, Jerry wanted his party to win as many state Senate seats as possible. The more members of your party who vote, the more likely you are to win an election. The new lines were drawn to include loads of areas that would help Governor Gerry in the future. They were so strange looking that someone said the new districts looked like a salamander. The Boston Gazette added Jerry's name to the word salamander, and voila! Gerrymandering, the process of dividing up and redrawing districts to give your political party an advantage. So how exactly does someone go about protecting their own political party and actually gerrymandering a district? There are two successful practices: packing a district and cracking a district. Packing is the process of drawing district lines and packing in your opponents like cattle into as few districts as possible. If more districts equals more votes, the fewer the districts there are, the fewer votes the opposition party will get. Packing, then, decreases the opponent's voter strength and influence. Cracking is the opposite, taking one district and cracking it into several pieces. This is usually done in districts where your opponent has many supporters. Cracking spreads these supporters out among many districts, denying your opponent a lot of votes. When you have a large number of people who would generally vote for one type of party, those folks are known as a voting bloc. Cracking is a way to break that all up. So when would a party choose to pack their opponent's districts rather than crack them? Well, that really depends on what the party needs. To dilute your opponent's voters, you could pack them into one district and leave the surrounding districts filled with voters of your own party. Or, if you and your party are in power when it's time to redraw district lines, you could redraw districts and crack up a powerful district and spread your opponent's voters out across several neighboring districts. So, Governor Gerry in 1812 wanted to gain an advantage for his party and redrew district lines in his state in such a crazy way, we have a whole new word and way of thinking about how political parties can gain advantages over their opponents. Politicians think of creative ways to draw districts every few years. So, the next time an election comes around and politicians ask people to vote, be sure to look up the shape of your district and the districts that surround it. How wide does your district stretch across your state? Are all of the districts in your state relatively the same shape? How many other districts does your district touch? But always be sure to ask yourself, does my district look like a salamander?
All right, and so that video touches upon many of the things we were looking at in terms of gerrymandering. And as the video talked about, the two main strategies, packing and cracking, it really just depends upon what the goals of the political party at the state are. Packing, putting in as many voters of a single voting block into a district in order to reduce how much of an effect they can have in other places. So by putting all these purple people here, the green people have more power. The purple gets the one district, but the green get the 3 other districts. And then cracking involves spreading out those purple voters in a way that the purple people don't get any districts and those green people get 4 of the districts. Depending upon what the state's goals are, they're going to use different gerrymandering strategies. All right, that's Maryland District 4, where much of us live in Hyattsville, and it's kind of a weird shape. It goes through Prince George's County, Arundel County. It's kind of weird, but check out this district. Eee, District 3. Does that look compact? It doesn't even look contiguous, but it technically is. They say because it goes over water, it's supposedly contiguous. But man, take a look at this crazy shape. This is Maryland. This is a democratically controlled legislature creating this weird looking district, District 3. And as the New Republic called it a couple years ago, the most gerrymandered district in America. Yee. Well, I hope that helped explain apportionment, how states use that data to create their districts, and how many states create districts in a type of way called gerrymandering. As always, if you have any questions, ask your fearless teacher to explain any of this to you. Until then, keep studying. Adios.